scandal in relation to DNA testing failures, a failure which could well mean that individuals could have been prosecuted if the DNA testing was up to scratch. So there may be criminals out there who are found not guilty because their DNA didn't meet some testing threshold. Equally, I guess, there may be people found guilty who, with the proper DNA test, may have been found innocent. Now, Queensland have a double jeopardy provision. So a person charged with a serious criminal offence who is acquitted by a jury can be charged a second time if new evidence emerges that was not available to prosecutors at that time. David Crisafulli, does this mean that a stack of cases could be reopened?
Yes, it does. And Alan, I'm so glad you've raised this because I just can't stress how significant this is. We have situations where DNA has been unable to be detected from the blood of a victim. We have situations where DNA has been unable to be detected in a vehicle that was driven by someone for 20 years and it couldn't even find that person's DNA. Now, the tests are broken. And we were consistently asking questions in the parliament. It started with just a blasé, oh, you're knocking our hardworking staff. It was never about that. It was whistleblowers coming to us. We then eventually got them to admit that something was wrong and they looked at an internal review. Then they escalated it and said it'd be an external review. We now have a royal commission into this. And I can tell you, Alan, the things that it is going to find, to go to your point, you bet there will be people who have been denied justice. And I am serious about this. This is a broken system and we owe it to every victim, every single victim, to fix this and hold those accountable. Well,
it is
every way we can.
I mean, the forensic biologist, Dr. Kirsty Wright, who ran the National Criminal Investigation DNA database, has called what's been going on, quote, the biggest forensic disaster. There is nothing anywhere in the world that is like this. She said, and in terms of the scale, how many years have these issues gone on for? So you're saying there's going to be a royal commission. When will there be a conclusion to that?
We will continue to keep the government's feet to the fire. Now, they've dragged their heels to date, but you mentioned Dr. Wright. She's a hero. She has stood up and she's been counted for. Now, I'll just tell you how serious this is, Alan. Mark my words, there are murderers and rapists who are walking free who should be behind bars. There are people who have been denied justice because of a broken system. When things have been challenged, results that should never have been allowed to get to second base in not being tested, all of a sudden they've found DNA. There is something dodgy in the forensic services lab, and unfortunately it's cost Queenslanders justice, and we owe it to every single one of them to fix it, not just for them, but for your kids in the future. For your kids who might need this protection one day. It's broken, it's dodgy, it's symptomatic of everything that is wrong with this government, where it's all about how things look, always look to suppress things rather than be open and accountable. And I tell you, this one is a steamer.
Well, what about the Integrity Commissioner, Nicola Stepanoff? She has resigned. She was cracking down on Queensland's lobbyist sector, including a widespread failure to declare meetings or the names of those who attended meetings with ministers and government officials. Is anyone investigating why she resigned? Because an audit of the lobbyists' register for the 2021 financial year alone found more than 100 breaches. Lobbyists were put on notice, and one of the main offenders, according to Dr. Stepanoff, was an unnamed former political advisor. Now, obviously, get rid of her and perhaps all this will disappear. Where are we in relation to her resignation?
Alan, she has agreed to stay on for estimates to answer questions, and the government refused. Today, we reveal that over $217,000 has been donated from Enacta. That is the firm that is owned by Evan Moorhead, a one-time MP, a one-time Labor State Secretary. Over $217,000 has been donated back to the Labor Party. Now, we called that out today. The Premier, under pressure after getting a review, said, OK, my government's not going to deal with Mr Moorhead anymore. Well, Mr Moorhead's moved to Canberra. He sees greener pastures. He's moved to Canberra because he sees a fresh opportunity. But his minions are still left behind here in Queensland. They have unfavourable access.
Yes.
It is wrong.